What's up guys, my name is Ace, and the Nightfall update in Battlefield 6 brought a handful of new attachments, and today we're going to be honing in on the new flash hider that was added. This is the Flash Comp, which of course is in the muzzle category, and with this it has the same spotting characteristics as the standard flash hider, meaning when you fire your gun, you won't have a diamond appear above your head in world, unlike if you're not using a flash hider or suppressor. So it does protect you from that, and it also has the same minimap reveal radius as the flash hider, which is 150 meters. So you will still be showing up on the enemy's minimap. However, the key difference here compared to the standard flash hider is this reduces recoil buildup and improves recoil recovery, which you might recognize. That same description is applied on the long suppressor and the lightened suppressor. And so I wanted to do a comparison here to see just how much this is helping relative to the standard flash hider, so no recoil buildup or recovery improvements, as well as the long and lightened suppressor. And with this, I decided to test it on the M4A1. I just feel like this gun has a solid recoil pattern to show this off appropriately, because it does have a fair amount of recoil to it, unlike many of the guns in the game, so you can really see the differences a lot more clearly. And normally, like for my gun guides, I just do 2 recoil plot tests, just to show at least some variance with the recoil plots, because some guns tend to have a little more variance than others. But since we're doing specific recoil tests, I decided to double that, so I'm going to do 4 tests with each of these attachments. And so let's have a look at the side-by-side recoil plots. And with this, you can see with the long and lightened suppressor, as expected, we're seeing a very clear reduction to not only vertical recoil, but also horizontal recoil. And then when we add this new flash comp into the mix, we're seeing fairly similar results here. So it's clearly got less recoil than not using one of these attachments that helps with recoil, of course. But is this helping any more or less than the long or lightened suppressor? Well, I wanted to dive a little deeper into this, and what I did here in order to measure averages is I just drew a box around each of the recoil plots, making sure it was perfectly outlining the vertical and horizontal limits of each plot. And then within Photoshop, I was able to count the number of pixels vertically or horizontally for each plot, and I found the averages for those, and then compared to the base averages. And these are the exact results I got, keeping in mind, of course, we're dealing with recoil, which inherently has some randomness programmed into it. Also, there is aim down sight spread involved here, which we are not accounting for or compensating for at all. And therefore, while you will see some variance in these numbers, it's very possible that they're actually coded to be exactly the same. And of course, I could get more accurate results if I massively increase the sample size of my testing, but that just goes way beyond the scale of a video like this. This is just designed to give you a basic idea of like roughly how much are these improving your recoil. So don't take these values as like perfectly exact coded values. They're just meant to give you like a ballpark of where the recoil improvement comes from. And with both the long and lightened suppressor, for our vertical recoil reduction, we're seeing a roughly like 10.5 to 12% reduction somewhere in there. If I had to guess, it's probably the exact same reduction with those. And with our horizontal recoil improvement, we're seeing a roughly like 8.5 to 10% improvement to our horizontal recoil. Whereas with this new flash comp, I did see a slightly better vertical recoil improvement at 12.4%, and the average horizontal recoil improvement was roughly 14%. Now again, there is a margin for error here. It's possible this actually has the exact same improvements as the long and lightened suppressor when it comes to recoil. Basically, the key takeaway from this is this new flash comp is going to improve your recoil at least as much as the long or lightened suppressor, and possibly even a little bit more. And the last thing to point out about this attachment is its attachment cost. This is going to cost twice as much as the standard flash hider. However, that of course means it's cheaper than both the long and lightened suppressor at 25 and 30 points respectively. And I think that really gives us a nice place in the game. It allows you to go with an unsuppressed build without having to worry about that diamond above your head, while still gaining some recoil control, and you can save a few attachment points in the process. I don't think it's necessarily a clear choice over the long or lightened suppressor. I just think it really depends on the build that you're creating and how many points you have to spare. Because, I mean, for me, ideally, I would also like to have a suppressor rather than a flash hider if I can afford it. But with certain attachment combinations, I just don't have that extra 5 or 10 points to put toward this. And therefore, I'm absolutely going to be adjusting a lot of my attachment combinations and adding this flash comp instead of something like a standard suppressor, for instance, which costs the same. Because in many cases, I'd rather take that little bit of improved recoil over staying off the radar for anybody that's more than 21 meters away from me. So I absolutely think this was an excellent addition to the game. I would highly encourage trying it out on some class setups. It's great to see some more options for recoil control that aren't quite as costly as the long or lightened suppressor without having to self-spot yourself every time you pull the trigger. Now, of course, those are just my thoughts on the flash comp, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about this in those comments down below. Also, of course, this wasn't the only attachment added with the update, and I do plan on making a separate video on the violet laser. I decided to keep them separate just for search optimization, so if somebody's searching for this new flash comp, they'll find this video. If they're searching for the violet laser, they'll find that video. So expect that one to be coming out fairly soon. And if you enjoyed this video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.